Look, not even like 20 minutes ago, okay, I uploaded my Mario trailer discussion video. You know, me for once throwing Nintendo a bone. And not only have they spat the bone out, they have shoved it up my ass along with the rest of the gaming community. Look, I've been saying this for years, maybe not on this channel or anything, but to the people around me, that I think Nintendo is probably one of the worst gaming companies out there. Yeah, I'm talking like worse than EA, okay? EA might put out some shitty products, but they don't seem to hate their fucking fans the way Nintendo seems to. Like, I cannot think of a gaming company more anti-fan base than Nintendo. I'm just thinking of all the countless fan projects that have been shut down over the years, just non-profit shit too, like local Smash tournaments and whatever. Nintendo just brings the hammer down on all that bullshit. They won't allow it. And this goes back to like the Melee days. Like, their excuse for bringing the hammer down on these small grassroots tournaments was that they were running mods which Nintendo did not support. So a lot of these tournaments would listen to what Nintendo said, they would go without mods, and then Nintendo still brings the fucking hammer down on them. Like, Nintendo does not care. They will find any way to strike your ass down. I've had videos that are over 10 years old that'll eventually get hit by the Nintendo ban hammer. Just old, no commentary Super Mario Brothers playthroughs just from like 10 to 12 years ago, then I'll just get a random email like about a month ago and Nintendo finally got me on it. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, 30 views, whatever, I don't give a shit. But they've gone and done something a little bit bigger this time than just striking down one of my old videos. So for those of you that don't pay attention to like Smash Brothers tournaments and whatnot, allow me to just give you the quick Cliff Notes synopsis, okay? There's other channels that have given way better discussions on this particular event that I'm gonna give you. Like, I'm gonna link you to like 2 other channels that could give you a way better synopsis than I can, but the real reason I'm making this video is just because what they've done, this is like the straw to break the camel's back. I just finally felt like I might as well come forth with just my opinion on Nintendo. Okay, so for the longest time, Nintendo has never ever partnered with any of these Smash tournaments. They've been all like little grassroots tournaments that Nintendo just seems to just have a giant fucking hate boner for. But this all changed back in 2021 when Nintendo, for the first time ever, actually partnered with an esports deal. They went with this one group called Panda Global. So yeah, this whole Panda Nintendo thing was the first ever fully licensed Smash circuit. So you have your officially licensed Nintendo deal over here. But what about the other unlicensed tournaments, you know? The biggest one of them all was the Smash World Tour, okay? They were like, well, what's gonna happen to us then if you have this whole license deal? Are we still allowed to operate? They had been keeping in contact with Nintendo, and Nintendo for like over a year now has been saying, yeah, it's fine, it's okay, you keep doing your thing. But up until like one day before the fucking tournament happens, Nintendo pulls the rug out from underneath them and says, yeah, no, sorry, this is unlicensed, you can't have it, we're shutting it down, go fuck yourself. And you had all these players, all these organizers, they had this whole fucking thing set up, and then just last minute Nintendo says, no, sorry, can't have it. And yeah, that's what I mean by Nintendo pulled a Nintendo. We think we're making a little bit of ground with them, like holy shit, maybe they're starting to finally catch on, you know? You have this whole group of people that love to play their games and hold these big tournaments, and just it brings new fans to it and all. Hell, the only reason I'm pretty sure Smash is as big as it is because of these tournaments. Think about Melee. That game's like 21 years old now, and you still have people doing tournaments of it. It's pretty fucking wild. Hell, the only reason I even pay as much attention to Smash as I do is because of the tournaments. I don't participate or play in them. I'm absolute garbage at Smash, but I like to watch other people play at a skill level I could only hope to be half as good at. It's fun for everybody, the community. It gets everybody all rounded up around these games we love. But for some fucking reason, Nintendo just doesn't want any of that bullshit. So yeah, I'm basically just giving you the whole Cliff Notes version of this. Like, trust me, there's way more to this sandwich than just the little bit of meat I'm putting on it. But I guess there's this one whole deal to where it's probably not even Nintendo. It's like the guy in charge of Panda. Like, maybe he's the one that's been pulling the strings on this, telling Nintendo to shut this shit down. So who knows? He's yet to make a statement at the time I'm recording this, but I imagine whenever he does make a statement, plenty of these topic channels will give their discussion on it. This is probably where I end mine. No, this whole banning incident was just the little match to pour in the gasoline fire I have inside me for Nintendo. Okay, so it's the next day, and I've kind of got my thoughts together on how I feel about Nintendo. I think I should do a little bit of backtracking here. I do not think Nintendo is the worst gaming company out there. There's, like, obviously with the bullshit that Blizzard Activision pulled, that stuff's absolutely horrendous. horrendous and deplorable. So in light of shit like that, I can take Nintendo down a couple notches, but I will still say Nintendo is still my most hated game company. I'd say the only company that comes close to being hated as much as I do for Nintendo is probably Game Freak. The only reason I don't hate Game Freak as much as Nintendo is because Nintendo owns like a third of the Pokemon company, so they've got a little piece of that pie, so that kind of just adds more towards Nintendo than just Game Freak in general. I'm just ranting here. Let's just get on to the next day. I made some bullet points for why I don't like Nintendo. I think it's a much better format of me voicing my opinion than just going on some long 10-minute rant like your drunken uncle at Thanksgiving on why he thinks the Jews are taking over America. I don't know where I'm going with this. Back to my Nintendo rant. Look, I'm not saying you're wrong for liking Nintendo, okay? That's fine. They put out some serious bangers. I grew up playing a lot of their games. It's a big part of my childhood and many other people's childhood, and I can understand why that love would carry on into your adulthood. It's just at some point I kind of fell off the Nintendo wagon. So I just put this whole little bullet point list together on why I just don't like Nintendo anymore. Well, for starters, like I said earlier, the way they shut down those tournaments, you know, how hard they go to bring those down, when really they kind of bring nothing but positivity and just more attention to their properties. Editor's redaction. I take back what I said about bringing positivity in there. I completely forgot that Smash Rage compilations are a thing. Those are awesome. I love seeing those, but still though, penis. I might have already said this too, but just their attitude towards fan projects. All of the fan remakes of games that get shut down, along with countless non-profit Pokemon fan games. I mean, I get it. If somebody was like selling like their own version or remake of an IP that you own, yeah, strike that shit down. That doesn't fly, but most of these takedowns are just non-profit homages to titles that the creator loved. Look, Nintendo's not the only company that does this next thing, but they're probably the worst candidate for doing it. It's where they go after these ROM sites where you can download ROMs of their older games and just run it on an emulator. Like, yeah, I get it. If there was like a modern solution to where I could pay for that game now while supporting you, then yeah, go after those ROMs and those emulation sites. But here's the thing, most of these games and shit they're striking down, they don't offer any alternative to where you could play it on a modern console, and you can't just like go buy a digital version of it on their eShop. I know they have the subscription services for a lot of their SNES and NES games, but there's a good chunk of titles they don't have on there. So I don't get the point in just preventing me from playing your old titles if you're not going to just distribute them to where I could play them. And there's no fucking way I'm giving Joe Schmo Blow $150 just to get a copy of Castlevania 4. Fuck that. I'm going to emulate that shit. And also when they do release their older titles, they like recently they released Mario All-Stars 3D. It had Super Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy, to where you could play all three of those games on the Switch. It was a $60 bundle. There's the thing though, they made it a limited release. I mean, it makes sense, you know, for like a physical version of the game, you know, like technically all physical versions are limited releases. They're eventually going to stop producing copies, but whatever. But they went and they made the digital version a limited release as well. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would you make a digital version that could exist forever on your store a limited release? And they gave a reason why they did this. Their reasoning behind making Mario 3D All-Stars a limited digital release was because it made Mario's 35th anniversary more special. And you know what? That's some S-tier snobbery if I have ever heard it. Okay, I think a lot of us could probably agree on this next one, no matter how much you dick ride Nintendo or not. It's how strict they are with their copyright. Like, I mentioned earlier that my channel had like older videos of me playing Mario on the NES pulled down for copyright purposes. Yeah, but here's the thing though, Nintendo has also taken down entire YouTube channels that have just only uploaded OSTs from Nintendo games. And they're not making any money off of it, they're just putting it online just so people can listen to it. And then Nintendo comes in and takes all this down. I think one guy had been doing it for like 10 and 12 years and he had his entire channel taken down. I think it's pretty crummy that Nintendo took that down, but what's even crummier is they don't offer up their own solution of this. Nintendo doesn't have a channel where you can just go and listen to all of their OSTs. I think like the funniest thing that came out of this whole thing was not too long after this whole big DMCA takedown on like a lot of different sites with Nintendo OSTs, Nintendo went on Twitter and they just asked, it's like, hey, what's your favorite OST from a Nintendo game? And just all the reply tweets on that tweet was just links to videos that Nintendo had taken down due to DMCA purposes. It was a nice moment where the community came together and just showed Nintendo how much of an ass they are. I mean, I still use Nintendo music in my videos to this day. I don't care. They can have me in another 10 years when they want me. Ooh, this was a big one about 2 years ago. There was this whole Muffin, that was a pretty good shake you just did. I'm proud of you for that. Oh, look at that. Harvey's moving around too. Oh no, I gave Muffin attention. Here, Muffin. Play your Switch, you big Nintendo fanboy. I'm not gonna lie, I bought a Switch, okay? But I think the main reason I bought the Switch is because I could make it look like a piece of toast. I mean, I'll get back to that in a minute. Back to what I was talking about. Oh, this next one that happened 2 years ago. This was like a really big one for me to where even I went, wow. So 2 years ago, Hyrule Warriors drops. It's a Switch game. And a whole bunch of Twitch streamers had their channels like banned for copyright infringement for just streaming the game. And Nintendo's defense to this was that the copyright infringement was because they were streaming the game prior to release. But here's the thing though, the game had already come out in the time zones of all these live streamers. Some of them in Japan, you know, where this shit is all headquartered. You know, you'd think that a company that's been around since before the collapse of the Ottoman Empire would know how time zones work. I mean, this next one's a pretty big one for me personally. Just Nintendo games never seem to drop in price. I mean, I know why they do it. I'm not stupid, because these games sell like hotcakes no matter how many years it's been since they've come out. They'll keep it full price for the duration of like the whatever console they're on, the entire duration of its lifetime, because people will be buying that game full price whenever they get their Switch. I mean, I understand it. I get it. That doesn't mean I'm gonna buy them though. I've only ever bought in 3 Switch games. Mario Odyssey, which technically came with my Switch. Luigi's Mansion 3, which, you know, I paid $60 for 3 years after its release. And the only game that wasn't $60 was Limbo, which I bought on the eShop for $20. And that's because it's an indie game and not a Nintendo release. It's also really good, and you should play it. I did a whole video on Limbo. And I bet Switch has some great games. I'd love to play Breath of the Wild, but I'm not going to pay full price for it in the same year that I spent full price for Elden Ring and God of War, okay? I get they're completely different games, but it's the principle of the matter. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure within a year, both God of War and Elden Ring are going to go on sale at some point, and you'll probably be able to pay like $30 to $40 for those games. Meanwhile, since, you know, Switch games hardly ever go on sale, not to mention when they do go on sale, it's something like $9 off a $60 Switch game at Black Friday. You see, this is why I'm friends with Austin. Instead of paying $60 for a Switch game I want to play, I could just go kick his door in and just take a copy from his collection. I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I'm just comfortable knowing that it's an option. I imagine there's other points that I'm going to think up by the time I get done putting this video online, but honestly, I feel like I've gotten my general gist across of just how I feel about Nintendo. You may differ on some points than me, but whatever, my opinion. You can like Nintendo, I can dislike Nintendo. Look, we can all agree that Nintendo goes hard in the paint to protect its IP, okay? And we all see them as this big, friendly family company, so it's a little spooky when Patrick rips his mask off and it's a fucking gorilla. I have no idea why I made that comparison. Draw your own conclusion to it. I'm gonna go emulate Castlevania 4 now.